there, my name is Valhallen, and welcome to How to Build. In today's episode, I've already built a couple of houses just for what we're going to be learning today, and that is how to build roofs. But whenever you're designing a roof, the very first thing that you're going to want to do is to determine the length, width, and height of that said roof. Hopefully, if you've watched my How to Build a Layout episode, then you'll have already determined how the length and width will be. But otherwise, we need to figure out which parts of the roof are going to continue going up with the wall and which parts are not. I say you should always go with the width side, the shorter side, so that way it isn't quite so tall, because if you did it on the length side, you'd end up with a very awkward looking roof. From there, you can do a multitude of different shapes, where you can do your classic A-frame, an arch, maybe even a slant if you want, but we'll do an example of that later in the video, or even something that's more curved inward. I had a little bit of trouble designing that last one there. I don't normally do roofs like that, but I'm trying to learn, you know? After that, it's a simple matter of just working on the frame, the essential rim of the roof. I always recommend that if you're going to be doing a roof of any sorts, whether it's a dome, which we're not going to be going over in today's video, or a barn kind of looking roof, an A-frame, or anything, please do the rim. It is so much worth it, and it kind of gives the build a sense of depth and more shape to it. And while working on the rim, you want to make sure that you're using stairs or slabs or something to help make the line look a lot smoother. It's very essential that the slant or whatever it is that you're going for looks smooth as you're doing it. So that way it's a natural, almost progression of how that roof's rim is curved or slanted. And I know you may not want to go through all the trouble of having to place all the upside down stairs and the right side upstairs, or figuring out how exactly wide some of the slabs or areas parts need to be. It's worth it in the end. Trust me. Once you're done with the rim, it's a simple matter of filling in the rest of that space in the roof. If you're anything like me, you'll have a color palette or a block palette in which you're basing everything off of, and you're going to pick one of those blocks to be that block. That isn't the same thing as the rim. But for this build, we're going to do the same thing as the rim, because in most cases where you're doing a simple little cottage, or maybe just you don't want to have to go through the trouble of finding that block, whether it be copper or wood, anything like that. It's just a lot easier to stick with the same thing as the rim. A lot of people do it, I do it. We're just giving you an example in this video. From there, it seems like you're done, but actually I recommend texturing the roof. It's just as simple as replacing some stairs or whatever you chose with some full blocks or putting slabs there. Honestly, you can even pick a completely different block as long as it's something similar to what you have and putting that in there. As you can see, that's what I did on this build in particular, at least. You don't have to do it this way though. You can even take the roof and turn it into a gradient if you want. If you want to check out the gradients video, that is, to where I kind of explain the difference between gradients and texturing there. Now, you should really move on to the other part of the house. I made a small little room off to the side of this cottage, and as you can tell, I tried to start working from towards where the main house is outwards. That did not work. From what you should do is actually start from the outside in, at least for something like this. See, I decided to do a little slant right there to try and demonstrate how you can do those in builds, kind of like this. It's best to find a diagonal in which you really want it to go. Pick a block from which you want the slant to start and end, and that is where you can determine how straight of a line you need to do it, or just how on Earth you are going to be able to make the roof at all. And bing bang boom, Bob's your uncle, you have your basic roof done. But there's more. See, as most of you noticed, I had a little build off to the side that kind of is lacking a roof. That's because I really wanted to also show an example of how to do a tower-like roof, something that you'd often see on the sides of castles in artwork or in Minecraft yourself. It's very easy to do, actually. There are even multiple different ways you can do these little divots. Well, I don't really know what to actually call them, but little pointed bits in a flat roof, like the one that this is kind of demonstrating. But I personally love to give these little bits shape, whether that be just sticking a wooden block towards the outside of it and saying that that is a support beam, or actually taking those little pointed bits that would normally be stone or sandstone or whatever the base block of your build or house is. I like to take it a step further and give it more shape by making the pointed parts or divots or whatever it is go onto the outside. It kind of feels like you're giving it a rim, and also it can be a great contrasting block sometimes too. But one way or the other, it still looks pretty good no matter how you do it, as long as you decide to give it some fun stuff in there, like maybe a little just wooden block at the end of it, calling it a support structure or whatever. However, I do hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will be seeing you all in the next how to build or rebuild or whatever it is for next video I do. And if you're interested in more of my content, please do consider subscribing to this channel, or even checking out my Twitch, where I play Minecraft and just build or do other silly things with a bunch of my friends, you know? Anywho, hope you had a wonderful time here, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye!